what it is with the W and Caitlin. But I told y'all in the beginning my theory on it. Somebody said this might be the most egregious of the flat out lie rage baiting posts I've seen related to CC. Whoa, unjustifiable. Somebody else said, damn, this season is going to be fun. I just got to laugh at a stupid ish like this and keep moving. Bankrupt boardroom clueless. I know who Caitlin Clark is. Who are the other four players? Damn.
A recent ranking of WNBA player marketability has stirred intense controversy across the basketball community. The list, compiled by Boardroom, placed Caitlin Clark as only the third most marketable player in the league, behind Aja Wilson and Paige Bueckers. This positioning has been met with widespread disbelief and frustration, particularly among Clark's supporters. The case for Clark as the WNBA's most marketable star is rooted in tangible metrics. Over her first 2 seasons as a professional, she has consistently driven the highest merchandise sales, ticket sales, and viewership numbers league-wide.
Caitlin Clark is. Who are the other four players? Damn. Kelly, Amber, and Stephanie have made a mockery of CC. Good. She allows it and supports it. Can't wait till All-Star. So, some more sliding CC does. Caitlin Clark is the most marketable player in the WNBA as of May 2026. This is a Google post. Probably Google AI. This is a Google AI post confirming that Caitlin Clark is the most marketable player.
When Clark missed time in May 2025 due to a left quad injury, national television ratings for WNBA games dropped by more than 55%, a clear indication of her individual drawing power. Skeptics have been quick to point out that while Wilson may be the league's best player in terms of on-court performance, placing Clark at number 3 in marketability is difficult to justify by any objective measure. The gap between her proven commercial impact and her ranking on this list has led some to label it the most egregious case of rage-bait content creation they have seen related to Clark's career. The timing of this ranking has only intensified the reaction. With Clark's Indiana Fever set to open their season tomorrow, many fans are now openly discussing the possibility of boycotting games as a means of voicing their displeasure with the team's handling of its young superstar.
That Caitlin Clark is the most marketable player in the entire WNBA. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, y'all. Because this is a bunch of baloney. I can't even lie. A.J. Wilson is the best player, but Caitlin Clark at number 3 is laughable. Following CC, left quad injury in May 2005, nationally televised WNBA dropped more than 55% because Caitlin Clark went down. Now, I'm interested to see.
Ticket sales for the opener are being monitored closely, with the potential for large swaths of empty seats being read as a referendum on both the marketability debate and the Fever organization's strategic choices. Much of the discontent centers around the role of head coach Stephanie White. Critics argue that White's offensive scheme, which reportedly features plays designed primarily to free up Kelsey Mitchell on the left side of the floor, fails to properly leverage Clark's unique abilities. The fact that White has been so prominently featured in the team's preseason promotional materials has only deepened the tension, with fans arguing the focus should be on the star player rather than the coach. Some have gone as far as to suggest that White's hiring was itself part of a coordinated effort to disrupt the ascent of Clark's personal brand within the league.
Clark went down. Now, I'm interested to see what the numbers is going to look like for tomorrow's game. Definitely is. Very much interested to see how those numbers look and how the attendance is going to look. Because I ain't bullshitting y'all. There has been a lot of people saying they're going to boycott this season. Without a question, they're going to.
These observers point to the WNBA's player demographics and power structure, which is heavily influenced by the LGBTQ community, and argue that Clark's identity as a straight, white woman has made her a target for those who feel threatened by her soaring popularity. Comparisons have been drawn to Clark's time at Iowa under head coach Lisa Bluder. While Bluder's offensive approach did sometimes call for other players to advance the ball up the court before initiating the offense, Clark was given command of the attack as soon as the ball crossed half court. This nuance has been cited as evidence that a basketball system can prioritize a singular talent without necessarily demanding they be involved in every facet at all times. As the Fever prepare to take the court for their first meaningful game of the season, the atmosphere around the team remains charged.
Question. They're going to hit them in their pockets. Now, I just wonder, right, if people standing on business about this, right? What's going to happen? What is going to happen, bro? Will they fire Stephanie White at the conclusion of the season? Because it's going to be apparent very much.
The coaching staff's insistence on a more balanced offensive approach, despite Clark's unrivaled ability to drive fan interest and engagement, has put the franchise at a crossroads. With supporters now openly discussing the possibility of redirecting their financial investments solely toward Clark's personal endorsement partners rather than the team as a whole, the coming games will be monitored as closely for attendance and sponsor activations as for the on-court action. At the heart of this situation sits a genuine basketball prodigy whose commercial appeal has the potential to revolutionize the entire league. How the Fever organization navigates its relationship with Caitlin Clark, and whether it can properly capitalize on her generational combination of skill and marketability, will be one of the defining stories of the WNBA season. The eyes of the sports world will be watching from opening tip to see whether this is the beginning of a new era or a cautionary tale of fumbled opportunity.
Because it's going to be apparent, very much apparent, that when it comes to Caitlin Clark and her fans, they got more power than the front office could ever know. They got more power than the front office could even imagine. The Caitlin Clark fan base is different. Real different, dog. I ain't lying to y'all.
The Indiana Fever opened their season against the Dallas Wings, and the odds makers have Indiana as clear favorites, roughly a 70% chance to take the win, playing at home. That number feels about right given how the rosters stack up. One thing worth noting before anything else is how quietly this game has been priced. For a matchup featuring Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers sharing a floor for the first time in a regular season game, the ticket prices have been remarkably low.
Dog, I ain't lying to y'all, man. Hey, the Indiana Fever is definitely on some type of media, like, I don't know, persuasion to try to get the fans to accept Stephanie White for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, I think the damage is done. We're not going to accept her at all. You feel me? And it's just going to be an uphill battle trying to convince the fans that she all right. You know, I think it's going to...
Good news for anyone trying to get in the building, but it raises questions about where the Fever sit in the broader excitement conversation around the league right now. The days of resale prices pushing fans out of the arena may have shifted. On the injury front, Mo Billings is unlikely to suit up. For Dallas, Isaiah James and Alana Smith are both listed as probable.
Fans that she all right. You know, I think it's going to get so bad that people is literally going to boycott the games, which we already seeing that with ticket sales. We might touch on that today too, is that I really think people boycott this season. We going to find out tomorrow, man. We going to find out tomorrow. We definitely going to find out tomorrow. And it's just going to be very interesting to see how many people is in them stands, man, because I'm telling you right now, I feel like the viewership numbers tomorrow.
James is dealing with a sprained ankle manageable enough to play through depending on severity. Smith has a broken nose, and putting her on the floor in Game 1 of a 4-4 game schedule for that is a harder case to make. Teams that play hard and intense early in the Wings have shown that tendency even in preseason are going to test a player working through that kind of discomfort. The schedule picture heading into this game matters too.
You're not having to pay an arm and a leg. You can go to these games for cheap now. Just wait until tickets go resale because the Fever have priced out their fans. But if you're looking at the injury report here, the likelihood is that Mo Billings doesn't play. And the likelihood is that Alana Smith and Isaiah James do play. And the rumor that Isaiah James and Alana Smith are both probable. Isaiah James is sprained ankle. You can play on a bad sprain, on a iffy sprained ankle. You can play on that.
Dallas has a brutal early stretch. Their first 8 games stack up against teams projected to be in the playoffs almost every single time out. Atlanta, Minnesota, Chicago, New York, Vegas. That is a gauntlet. Indiana's first 8 games, by comparison, feature maybe 1 or 2 playoff caliber opponents.
You can play on that. Alana Smith has a broken nose. You should not be playing a player on a broken nose in game 1 of 44. You shouldn't. Which means the Dallas Wings, like, this is not a regular season game. I understand there's a different level of intensity, but we saw it from preseason. The Dallas Wings are going to come out intense. They're going to come out super, super intense in this game. And as far as the rosters are concerned,
the Fever can absorb a loss here without much damage to their season standing. Dallas cannot afford to start poorly. Coach Jose Fernandez likely understands that a slow start against this schedule does not give his team room to recover. The matchup question everyone wants answered is Clark versus Buchers.
Rosters are concerned, I feel like it's at least, I think the Fever are the better roster. So if you look at the starting schedule, the Wings, besides the last 5 games, like, the Indiana Fever have an easy enough schedule, whereas there's no way the Wings have an easier start to the season than the Fever. Like, the Fever can not that they should want to lose this game, obviously, but they can afford to lose it. So you're looking here, and they play Atlanta, Minnesota, Washington.
The honest projection is that they play entirely different games in this one. Buchers will probably put up more points simply because she is going to take more shots. Clark's influence on the game is going to show up in ways the box score does not fully capture. The bigger individual storyline, though, might actually be Aaliyah Boston.
Minnesota, Washington stink, but then Chicago, who are good. Atlanta, New York, Vegas. Like, so they have, in their first, 8 games, they play, based on my predictions, 7 games against teams projected to be in the playoffs. Whereas the Indiana Fever, in their first 8 games, they play 1 team I have projected to be in the playoffs. Sorry, yeah, say 2. Sparks. No, 1, the Sparks.
Dallas does not have a clear answer for her. Alana Smith has shown she can be exposed on the perimeter defensively. The Alyssa Thomas situation in the playoffs last season made that plain. Jess Shepard is not equipped to contain Boston either. If Alana Smith opens the game guarding Maisha Hines-Allen, that leaves the Boston problem unaddressed, and Boston punishing undersized or outmatched defenders is not a new development.
Sparks. And I think it'll be one of, like, the Sparks or the Wings. The Wings making the playoffs. I think the Wings could end up making it because they play hard. So the Indiana Fever really can, not that they can coast. I was like, saying not they can coast, but no, they can coast. They can coast. And if you look in general, like, they don't play a game till Wednesday. Whereas you've got a game on Tuesday if you are the Dallas Wings. So the Indiana Fever do play a lot of weird, like, tough situations where it's like they're playing Wednesday.
For Dallas to pull off the win, a fairly specific set of things all have to go right at the same time. Zaza James or Racuna Williams would need to outperform Kelsey Mitchell. Buchers would need to clearly outperform Clark overall, not just in scoring, and Maddie Siegrist would need to get the better of Sophie Cunningham.
They're playing Wednesday and then they're playing Friday. But they're going from LA to, they're constantly changing time zones. But, like, the Fever play 5 of their first 6 games at home. So you're looking at a team that really needs to start off well, but can afford to lose because, like, we have all these games coming up. The Dallas Wings are going to be fighting for their lives because I think Jose Fernandez knows that if this team starts badly,
all 3 of those things happening together is possible, but requires a lot to fall in Dallas's direction simultaneously. Clark's history against this Dallas franchise is worth acknowledging. She set career highs multiple times in the 3 matchups last season and broke the all-time assists record across those games. A 5-point double-double projection for her in this one is not unreasonable.
Starts badly, they could be done. Like, if you look here, they're playing on the road to Indiana, then Atlanta. Minnesota are not bad. Like, I put them at a similar, without Fee and without Juhas, I put them at a similar level to Dallas. And the scariest thing is that the cheapest you can get into a Dallas Wings game is against Fever. That's actually crazy. That is actually crazy. The cheapest.
Boston at 25, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists is also a realistic ceiling. Mitchell traditionally starts seasons slowly. May Kelsey Mitchell and November Kelsey Mitchell are two very different players, so something in the 1-8 point range feels appropriate rather than assuming she comes out at peak level. Both offenses are genuinely dangerous, and neither team defends particularly well. That combination usually means scoring totals above 95 points and a game where big leads evaporate.
Crazy. The cheapest get-in price. What are the Fever's get-in prices? Oh my god. Oh my god. Fever have the cheapest tickets in the league. That is actually crazy. That is I'm not joking. That is actually wild. But yeah, it is one of those things because like that's kind of mad one. But I got to be real here.
A 2-0 point advantage for either team would not be safe given how quickly these rosters can get hot. The structure of the game is likely to swing multiple times, with massive runs in both directions. Whoever is up entering the fourth quarter might not stay there. Indiana still comes out on top in the final projection, but the margin is not guaranteed to be comfortable, and the entertainment value of this one should be high regardless of the result.